Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to All Point Sports. We're here live. We're here with the guys right now. JG the Kid will be with us in about an hour. He's in Rapid City, South Dakota, on his way home from Sioux Falls. Up in Oswego, maybe even in Long Island. We don't know where he is right now. He just graduated college from Oswego State. Stephen J. Say hello, Stephen J.
Quite an intro. Thank you, Dockster. Thank you, boys. How we doing? How we feeling today?
I think you spelled amateur wrong, by the way.
Yeah, I was worried about that. That college degree is already coming in handy. That's amateur. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited for today's show. I was really prepping for, talk some basketball, some golf, some baseball, or hockey rather. I was ready to talk about just the finals, throwing some baseball, and then we get the bombshell yesterday, which makes this show a little bit even more spicier with probably the main topic and all the big news that's coming in the golf world. So we got a whole lot more to talk about with that bombshell. So hope you boys are ready for it's going to be a very, very interesting show and very informative show.
That's right, Stephen J. And all the way from New Jersey, he'll be here at Villa Roma on the weekend, DJing on Friday and Saturday night, starting at 10 p.m. Bobby Blackjack, how you doing?
I'm good. I need a gas mask here in Jersey because that's Canadian wildfire. It's I don't know. It's the weirdest. I mean, we had some weird times the past couple of years with COVID and lockdown, but to walk outside and I feel like you're on Mars. I don't think I ever had that in my life. It was yellow outside, and then just the acrid smell and whatnot. Weird.
Of course, the fires up in Canada. How about what's it like near you, Stephen J?
Well, so on Long Island, I believe the air quality was probably in the 150s, which is still very unsafe. They were advising on Long Island to not go outside. If you had to, wear a mask. So on Long Island, it's not as good. In the city, I mean, that's really where they're getting the worst of it. It's staying in there, and even a little bit farther east on Long Island, it's still pretty bad. Who knows how long it's going to stay? They stay until Friday, but it could be here until the weekend, maybe into next week. It's some weird stuff that's happening here. It's orange, like you said. It's like you're on Mars. It's like we're on the end of days. It's almost like the first day of the plague. What's tomorrow? Is tomorrow locusts? Today it's fog and smog, and then tomorrow we'll have locusts.
Well, Bobby Blackjack can tell you up here at Villa Roma, we've had a fire, we've had a flood, and a couple of floods, and it's not been good. But up here, I can tell you that it's very smoky. You could smell it, almost like you could probably smoke some brisket outside just from all the smoke up here. It kind of dissipated up at about 1,400 foot level where I'm at. But down in the valley, you could still see it socked in, and it's very smoky here. They're saying it's unacceptable. We moved all the activities inside today. They closed the pool area. Unacceptable in Callicoon.
Oh, and they just opened up the pool too, right?
They were just trying to keep everybody safe.
Oh, yeah.
Even inside tomorrow. And we'll see how it goes. It's supposed to be unacceptable till about 1:30 in the afternoon tomorrow, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I got to play. I got my. Thankfully, I left early Saturday, and my St. Mary Gales. We won the sectional state championship, so we play tomorrow down near Trenton for the state championship. And I mean, I was driving around today. There's no way you could play baseball in that weather. I mean, you can barely see in front of you, in some locations. Never mind the breathing. So hopefully this gets rectified and we have the game tomorrow afternoon.
Well, even up in Buffalo, they're saying, and there goes Mr. Manhattan. But I can tell you, up in Buffalo, they're even having embers come across the border that they can see. And I've seen some pictures from up there, and it's kind of devastating. The red skies and the flames, and it's kind of
Well,
devastating.
it's so dry out there now that those embers could be what starts and is what's growing the fire to begin with. It's been so
That's,
dry lately that it's crazy.
and some are saying it's even this was done on purpose, but we'll
Of
see.
course.
We'll see.
It's like I don't know, these summer days. It's like we're living in a Traeger grill right now, like Doc said. It's very interesting times that we're in. So it's not very good across, basically all of New York. I have friends up in Oswego, near Syracuse, and Binghamton, all over kind of the upstate New York area as well, and still the same thing, still very bad. So, and the fact that it's you know especially on just a human level, but also it is a sports show, and it's affecting sports too. A whole lot of baseball was canceled, and even I think it was a basketball game that was canceled too. So just the best interest in everyone's safety, and I can't imagine the people last night at the Yankee game. I don't know if either of you guys caught that with the Yankees. I mean, we thought it was just like fog from the weather, but you're watching this Yankee game. Those I couldn't sit through that for 2.5 hours, breathing that all in. Maybe
If I
that's
could tell you, Stephen J, everybody thinks of the sports like you're saying, but one sport, which some races were canceled, but even up here at the farm, Little Holiday Farm, where the animals are outside, that's something that people aren't thinking about is how are the animals surviving outside? I've seen a lot of just wild birds on the ground that's not normal. Maybe they're having trouble flying, but how about the little baby goats or the horses here, or even the older animals? How are they making it out? So that's what I'm thinking about right now, and we're trying to keep everybody safe. But even inside the barn, you could even breathe that in. It's in the air. It's kind of like it's falling down uh, on the ground here. So we're just hoping that we get some rain pretty soon that could
mm,
dissipate this, or just it just dissipates. It's something.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you have a whole bunch of animals. What's the protocol for this? I'm sure there's not really a how-to book for something so uncalled for like this, but I mean, you have horses, you have goats, and all the animals. Is there anything that you guys can do to kind of make sure that they're kept in check and all healthy?
It just to keep them hydrated, but even if you keep them inside, like I said before, you could even just it's in the air. It's just
Mm.
in the air, whether it's in the particles in the air. It's I don't know what you could do. The one we're worried about is Prima Donna because she's 27 years old, miniature
Wow.
horse. So that one right there, we try to keep the weight on that horse, but just the breathing, I could imagine just, you're outside just yourself, you could just, you take it in right away. And they're saying, oh, you should wear a mask. Well, what about animals? What should they do? And that's a good question, Stephen J.
Hmm. Wow. So you have a horse that's older than Bobby Blackjack. I had no idea about that.
Yeah,
Prima
yeah.
Donna, 7 years young.
Almost double the age here.
But let's segue right to Stephen J. We talk about taking protocol during the fires in Canada and the smoke coming in, especially New York State and as far as places as North Carolina and Virginia today reported. But the Memorial Tournament, I know you're very close to that. You had close ties, and I believe you maybe even went to the Memorial Tournament, Stephen J. But Doc Holliday, I just want to boast a little bit. Went on the Caesars app before the weekend. Maybe it was on a Thursday, and I looked through the names, and I saw the common names of Rahm, Scheffler, but I saw Hovland, who hadn't won a tournament since 2021, and I took my odd number of $16.25, and I put it on a Victor Hovland to win the Memorial Tournament. Stephen J., tell us about the Memorial Tournament.
It's I, I'll never not be amazed at Doc Holliday's. You can't call it luck 'cause it's a skill with Doc, but it's also, betting is a little bit of luck as well, despite your a whole lot of skill and knowledge. But I did not know about that. And I remember, what was it, last year for the Masters, I believe. This isn't, your first winning golf bet. Last year for the Masters, I believe you went Scheffler. And if I'm not mistaken, for the Open, you went Cam Smith as well, correct?
Yes, yes.
I'm not sure what your Masters pick was. It might have been Rahm. It wouldn't have surprised me if it was. But so far, Doc Holliday is at least in the 50% range for all the golf tournaments that you've picked going back from last year. So, I mean, we got to have like a separate golf show betting just for Doc Holliday. But yeah, I mean, with the Memorial Tournament, you had all your big names in there. It's obviously one of the more well-known events that's not a major. And going into Sunday, fast forwarding right to Sunday, you had guys like Rory and Hovland at the top of the leaderboard. And one person rose to the occasion and the other one kind of sunk pretty quickly like a stone. And Victor Hovland, who everyone knows this year, even going back to last year, he's been knocking on the doorstep, right? He had, I believe he was the leader going into the weekend for the Masters. He was in contention for the PGA Championship as well. He was in that final grouping, I believe, with Brooks Koepka. Neither of those majors couldn't get it done. And he goes into the Memorial probably playing the best golf out of anyone on the tour, not named Scotty Scheffler. And he rose to the occasion and he hit some clutch putts at the end to bring it into a final overtime golf. And Victor Hovland, who that's the one thing that he's been kind of nabbed as a someone who hasn't rose to the occasion, not a closer. And that's what you need to be in golf. You need to be a closer. And Victor Hovland sent it into a playoff, and he closed it out. So Victor Hovland with the winner. I don't know if you watched that putt on 18, Doc, but if you had money on Hovland, you're watching that putt. I don't know how you could watch that with no sweat dripping down your face.
Yeah, that was great. And he was down some strokes going into that day. Just unbelievable golf and turn of events. It was exciting to watch. And the news, tell them the news, Stephen J. The news with the PGA finally making a decision to go with Live, the big money, and I think a lot of golfers are at ease right now. Tell us, Stephen J.
Yeah, so I mean, very surprising news came down on Tuesday morning. I mean, I don't think if you said to yourself that you thought about these two companies merging, you'd be lying to yourself, especially right after when PGA Championship, when a Live golfer won. I mean, talks have been going on before that, so it's not like the Live and the PGA, they noticed that a Live golfer once they had to get it together. But that was really when the tensions really started to split apart, right? When Brooks Koepka won the PGA Championship, a Live guy won, and all the Live guys went and talked their talk. But yes, the Live Golf, PGA, and also the DP World Tour, they are now all in one entity on an agreement. Not sure what the terms are, considering that there's a whole lot of framework that needs to be done. But very surprising news that came down on Tuesday with the Live Golf and the DP World Tour joining the PGA Championship. And every fan had the same reaction. They went to themselves, is this real? Because when I saw this, the first thing that broke was on Twitter, and I thought that it was a joke. I didn't believe it for 1 second. I had to go through like 5 or 6 different accounts to verify it, because you never want to jump the gun on that. And it caught every golfer by surprise, whether you're on the World Tour or you're just an average Joe golfer like me. Everyone was stunned by this move. And really, we'll obviously get into all the different terms, but big picture, if you were on the Live side, you're ecstatic about this. If you're on the PGA side, you have an egg on your head, right? You're caught red-handed. You're caught with your pants down, basically. So, I mean, these two very different feelings on both sides. But in the end, it's going to be good for golf. A lot of fans do not like it. They're all going to say that, we're growing the game of golf. In the end, it's to make both entities money, right? I think this was beneficial to both tournaments. Now, I don't know much about the DP World Tour, so I probably won't talk too much about it. But in the terms of PGA, they needed their stars back, and they wanted all this drama to stop. Every time a major was happening, they wanted to talk about the major, right? They didn't want to talk about the Live Tour. They didn't want sound bites from Rory talking about, oh, what about Live? What about this golfer? Who said what? It was really just, it was a bad mark for the PGA when all these majors would come up, when all the Live guys would waltz in there 4 times a year. And for Live Golf, they were getting no ratings, right? They had plenty of money. I'm sure they were spending a lot of money, but they had plenty of money with the Saudis, who are really the benefactors and who are funding all this money into Live, but they weren't getting any ratings, and they, did not think that it would be where it is 2 years down the road with playing on a channel that runs Golden Girls reruns. So I think in the end, both got what they wanted, and every golf fan is going to be pretty mad about it, unless they're on the Live Tour. But there are bright sides to it, and I'm curious what you guys are thinking as far as what your reaction was. Doc, it took a lot of time to kind of wrap our minds around what was Live Golf, how did this all happen. We've talked about it multiple times. We were kind of trying to explain it back and forth to each other on what it was. So I mean, Doc and Bobby, obviously both of you guys have watched golf, but I mean, I'm assuming you guys' reactions were the same, and also where do you think that this puts the PGA especially?
Well, let me start, because I'm not the biggest golf guy. I mean, I played for a number of years. I played Villaroma many times, the course up there. But first thing that came to my mind was I have a show on Saturdays or Sundays sometimes, Sports with Mano and Mano, where one of the hosts, the two brothers, one of the hosts, Jim, big golfer, but hated Live Golf. Swore up and down for the past year and a half while doing a show every Saturday or on the weekends that he would never, ever watch Live Golf. Now, all of a sudden, they're together, right? They broke bread. So first thing that came to mind is like he's not alone. There are like you said, a lot of people were against this Live Golf, especially in this area because of the whole 9/11 situation. And I don't want to get into that right now, but it's going to be fascinating to see how, does this, as you mentioned, does this grow the ratings? Will the traditional golf fan now accept Live Golf and this new one entity, or is it going to make things worse? I don't know. A lot of people are against Live Golf because of where that money's coming from, like you said, Steve. And I don't know where that goes from here.
Doc Holliday, what says you?
I say that Live Golf was created totally from cash, totally from money. And they wanted to see where the market would go and attract the biggest names in golf if they could get them, or what were the biggest names in golf, i.e. a Phil Mickelson, and give them big money to sign on. If Live Golf had taken off right away and they had gotten the ratings right away, this deal would have never been done. I think the PGA is smart in getting the Live Golf to get to combine with them, because Live Golf, I think, has the egg on their face. And now with the PGA, there's still going to be the cutoff. They're still going to be making the cut. So you're going to have all the golfers. The golfers this is going to hurt are the less named golfers that signed on with the Live Golf in the immediate Live Golf opening. Is these guys that were given millions of dollars to, these guys that wouldn't even compete. Stephen J could tell you some of these guys that signed for big bucks, he could name names. These guys weren't even competing in the PGA. So to them, it was found money, I believe. So to now combine the two, oh my gosh, you're still going to have to make the cut. So these golfers that were making millions of dollars, not anymore. Not anymore. Especially with three different entities combining, you're going to have the best of the best. And I think the PGA, this is the best move they could ever make, is combining with the Live Golf. They did not want to compete with Live Golf. What do you say, Stephen J?
Yeah, I mean, and you can, right? How Live all kind of started at least from my standpoint. This may not be extremely factual, but I mean, the last couple of years, if you're a soccer fan, if you're a Formula One fan, Saudi Arabia has gotten very involved in sports, and they are, just because of this public investment fund that has more money than basically God. I mean, they have almost $1 trillion in this public investment fund, and they're dipping into sports and very profitable sports. Like I said, whether it's soccer, I believe it was Cristiano Ronaldo who signed with the Saudi Arabian soccer team, Formula One, which they're dipping their toes in, and they wanted to go with golf. So they wanted to start their own golf league. And who did they get to co-head it? But they got Greg Norman, basically someone who's had a vendetta against the PGA all of his life. If you were to have someone, start a rival baseball league and you needed someone to commission it, who would you get? That's like the equivalent of getting Pete Rose to be your commissioner for this other, rival baseball league, if there was one. So they got a Greg Norman. They have all this money. So what do you need to do? You need to get players. And they threw millions upon millions of dollars at the Live Golf. And that's really what attracted anyone to Live Golf. People like Phil Mickelson, like Brooks Koepka, like Bryson DeChambeau, they're going to say that they want to, again, which makes me sick to my stomach hearing this the last 24 hours, grow the game of golf, right? They want shotgun starts, 3 days. They want to wear, shorts that go up to their nether regions. They want to do all this, stuff with team golf. It was all, they're talking out their rear end. It all came down to money, right? Phil Mickelson getting paid $200 million, Brooks Koepka $150 million, Bryson $100 million, and the money talked. So they went over to Live, but a lot of people are loyal to the brand. We see that in sports where a lot of people are very attracted to their team. A player leaves, the Yankees, or maybe if you're a Packers fan, a lot of people sided with the Packers over Aaron Rodgers. And that's exactly what golf fans did. They sided with the PGA instead of just players. And I think that was something that Liv wasn't completely anticipating, but Liv basically created this Liv entity to either get bought / merge with the PGA or to buy out the PGA. They got exactly what they wanted. They never wanted to have two different golf leagues. They created this and they got exactly what they wanted. So on Liv's side, there's really nothing bad that came out of this. They have all the money. Their backers are still going to be part of the PGA. And if you're in the PGA Tour, especially the players who are caught off guard with this, you have to feel bad for them. I mean, people like Rory McIlroy, especially, who's kind of the leader of the anti-Live Club, you send him out here on a Wednesday, 24 hours after, as the sacrificial lamb, basically, to answer all these questions. And he was caught just as off guard as all the media was. And that's because that, the PGA, they didn't tell the players, and that was on purpose, because the players would have said, hell no to merging it. And, the PGA and the three guys in charge, whether it's Monahan, and the two other very important people on their board of executives who kind of executed this deal, they wanted to keep it that way. They didn't want any thing from the players, because the players would have leaked it and they would have had all this backlash, where instead of figuring out beforehand, you figure out after, because in the end, it's all about money. And the PGA, Live wasn't really getting a return on it. Now, do they care about losing money? No, they're just going to keep dumping more money into Live Golf because they have plenty of it. But Live wanted notoriety and they wanted to change golf, because that's what they're hiding behind. Even though they wanted to make their own golf league, they wanted to hide behind all these chains. And for the PGA, they couldn't compete with all the money that Live had and all the litigation that Live was giving to them. So in the end, both sides ended up pretty happy.
But I'll tell you, Stephen J., and this is even, I'm not changing what I said before, but the PGA has a long history going way back. Bobby Jones and all the great golfers that have come up over the years, and the PGA history, and even going to PGA school prior to going out on the tour to learn the golf etiquette and keep the traditions of golf, and a Live Golf flashes some money to some players, and now a turn of events has happened to where they've merged without the traditions and the history. I'm afraid.
Yeah. And like we said, talking about growing the game of golf, it's all just because of money. And it's good to have one whole golf league back, and who knows what's going to happen to the players. I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff. We just know that there's going to be no rivals and we don't know what the players are going to do. Mickelson, are they going to be brought back immediately and they can play in a Memorial Tournament, or if it's going to be the same kind of suspension, how long this is going to take. A whole lot of very interesting stuff what's going on with Liv and the PGA and the DP World Tour. I mean, even if guys like Tiger Woods aren't, they don't know what's going on here. That is, they obviously knew what they were doing, and they didn't want players knowing about what's going to happen because, like I said, they didn't want to hear the backlash. So, golf is in an interesting spot here. You can be kind of worried about, having a big Saudi Arabian public fund in sports. If you want to kind of be worried about that, there are definitely a whole lot of other things to kind of be worrisome about in the PGA. And I mean, two guys that really were behind this. A lot of people are giving Jay Monahan, who's the PGA commissioner, a lot of flank for this. Talking about money, there are two guys, Ed Hurley and also Jimmy Dunn, who are just like, how all the people in the Saudi Arabian Public Investment Fund are all successful businessmen. All the people that are on the PGA board, they're not necessarily former golfers or, it's not your, Arnold Palmer type golfers that are on the board. It's people that have a lot of money and have golf as like a little hobby. So, Jimmy Dunn and Ed Hurley were big parts in executing this. Basically, both are gentlemen who are very successful ex-Wall Street bankers. They're big public investment funds. They're basically a whole bunch of Steve Cohns, right? And they love golf. And those guys, they wanted to get this deal done because they needed money and they wanted to make one giant pool of cash for golf. And those are the guys that push for it. And Jay Monahan, like we said, he said a whole lot of things that right now is looking pretty bad. As Doc Holliday said, he's got an egg on his head. And, going back to what Bobby said with, 9/11, using that as kind of anti-live rhetoric. The commissioner is going to be called for his job, but I don't even think that it was mostly his decision. All these guys wanted golf or wanted all this money on the board. And that's what it came down to, because the PGA having all this money behind them and on the board, why wouldn't you go for that? So those are really the two big names that, that should be discussed with Jay Monahan in Ed Hurley and Jimmy Dunn. So again, money talks, right? In the end. Now, for you guys, there's a whole lot of stuff that still needs to be discussed. But, if you're a PGA player right now and you had an offer for Live Golf and you turned it down because you're getting, probably offered 100, 120, 150 million dollars to play on Live, and you were loyal to the PGA Tour, and all of a sudden they turn their back, they basically flip you the bird and say, all right, we're going to go merge with them now. I mean, you guys would have to be very upset, correct?
I think it's turned over golf. I think you're going to have a whole turnaround in golf right now. You're going to have these. Imagine being a college player just a year away from joining the tour. Oh my gosh, this everybody for himself right now, and these players are going to be so upset that they didn't sign with the Live Golf, because that could have been maybe a 2 or a 3 year deal. Even if it was a 1 year deal, that's guaranteed money. Unbelievable. Now a turn of events has happened, and you say, shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Bobby, do you think that, if you're a PGA player, let's say you're Justin Thomas and you gave up all this money, possible money for Live Golf, and you wanted to stay, loyal to the PGA Tour, and this all happens. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I would feel like a second-class citizen in that organization. You have to figure money won out, right? Where's the money? Will Live, and if you didn't take their overtures in the beginning, and now you're probably sweating to see if you're to get anything now, because you already turned your back on them once. Now everybody's together, and who knows if there's any bad blood between those executives and some of the players that spurned them or talked bad about them the past year and a half.
I'll tell you, Stephen J., what you might see is a strike among golfers to get a fair amount of money for each golfer. It's almost I bet you it's gonna be like baseball or basketball now where you have a minimum amount for a player coming in, and I think this is where it's going to be because there's plenty of money from the live. I don't think they're going to quell it, slow it down. I think every golfer is going to want something, and I think this has now created a little monster. I think you're going to see some pushback. That's a great question, Stephen J. I think you're going to see some pushback from some of these golfers that were offered money, tried to stay loyal to the PGA, and now are being told, hey, here it is. So I think they're going to be pushing back. I think so.
Yeah, it's when we're talking about money in the PGA, it was coming to my head when I was thinking about kind of players and maybe getting, I doubt that they would get, a payback for, staying loyal to the tour, however it goes. But I was thinking about the opposite, where these live golfers, guys like Dustin Johnson, like Brooks Koepka, who are maybe not Koepka, but your DeChambeaus, your Mickelsons, a whole lot of other live golfers that went, and they all said that it's life changing money. And I get that $100 million is life changing money, but I was thinking to myself, all those guys are pretty successful golfers. Is their life really that bad? In what the spot was in the PGA where they really needed to go over to live golf. It was greed in the end. And like I just keep saying, I highly doubt that any of these guys were really concerned about growing the game, about, playing team golf. And which is completely interesting. I think we're talking about all the kind of issues that are arising now. I think in a little bit, we'll talk about possible new additions to the game of golf. But, if Bryson DeChambeau is sitting there, tears in his eyes, saying that his family can finally eat at night because he joined the Live Golf League, give me a break. But money talks in the end. And with this whole Live Golf thing, it's the players that got to answer, the PGA players that's got to answer all this. So very interesting stuff. If everything was kind of building up and you heard about it, what just makes it so weird is that just this bombshell happening, and also the timing is very interesting too. I get that, every day is money. If that's the word of the show right now, money. But it's all about timing, and I get that each day and each week with each tournament. The PGA and Live, they could be earning less money than what they could be if they were both in bed together. But just kind of in the middle of the golf season, right? We're only 2 weeks out from the U.S. Open. That is going to be a melee in just what's going to happen. I mean, if a reporter asks a question about, the actual golf course or what they're expecting for the championship, I don't think anyone's asking that anymore. Everyone's going to be talking about Live Golf, PGA. Were you told about this? The U.S. Open is going to be a circus as far as media and players, and it's going to be a scene for just the for golf in general in California. And I think only a couple short weeks for the PGA. So timing's also very interesting too, how everything just kind of erupted on itself just on a random Tuesday morning. And also, we got 2 more majors in the season. If it happened in the off season, maybe that's a little bit better, even though, let's get through the major season first. So the timing was very interesting on all this as well.
Well, guys, let's segue into a different topic, but maybe the same source part of it. The other big news today, what was the big news today in sports? Any idea? Besides the smoke in New York City?
Yeah.
Lionel Messi is coming to the MLS. Now, Steve's gonna fall asleep there, but the interesting part about this, and it kind of ties into what we're talking about, it's a nice segue. He turned down almost $1 billion from the Saudis to play there. Now, there's somebody who didn't take the money from the Saudis and now decided to end this twilight of his career building up the MLS, with the whole World Cup coming in a couple of years, and Miami being their team that David Beckham owns. And he made the big move 10 years ago or so, where he wanted to finish his career in the U.S. Again, not the same competition, but Lionel Messi in the MLS pretty much guarantees that every game, every match they go on the road with is going to be a sellout.
Oh yeah,
It's almost like having like the Yankees now, right? Yankees go on the road, and like they're the star attraction, for half of these cities when they come in. My little cousin, I mentioned to his dad, my cousin Vinny, funny, but his son's a big soccer player, and he's got to be ecstatic right now because his favorite player is Lionel Messi, and now he might get a chance in a few months or a year to watch his idol play, which probably would never have happened unless you get some World Cup tickets in a couple of years. But now he's going to play eventually the Red Bulls Arena. He's going to play Yankee Stadium, which now guarantees sellouts no matter where he goes. Because obviously there's some conjecture. Is Lionel Messi the greatest player of all time? Now he's taking his talents to the U.S. But segueing into what we've been talking about all show so far, he spurned the Saudi money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Doc Holliday.
I could say, let's just segue right back to what we were talking about. So many PGA players skirting the Saudi money, and look what happened. I would not be surprised if you did not see a merger amongst Saudi soccer, football, whatever you want to call it, and the MLS. I would not be surprised. But getting right back to what Bobby said, that's the smartest move available by the MLS. And you could go segue right back to when I was coming out of the Air Force. Pele came to the United States, and he was supposed to be the springboard for soccer in the United States, and he surely was. And it caught on, but not like they wanted. But I think it's a great move, Bobby.
And I was reading the article today. It was pretty fascinating. It's like he's getting obviously he's getting a potential ownership stake of a team in the future when he retires, right? He's getting like a healthy percentage of any new Apple Plus subscriptions, that are signed on for Americans to watch him play soccer now on TV. And he's getting Adidas, one of the biggest manufacturers of soccer clothing or sneakers or whatnot. He's getting a part of that too. So it's I thought it was a very unique way of bringing him here, and really, not just here's your contract, here's your money, but he's going to really become the face of American soccer as we go into, next year. We have Euros, you have the Copa America, and then all the qualifications for the World Cup, which come back here at 2026. So I think it's a very shrewd move for him to do that and for MLS to bring him aboard. And he's almost hinted that some of his Barcelona players might follow him to America as well. So, I mean, competition might not be the same as, the Premier League and Serie A in Italy. But, you know what? All it takes is a couple big names, and a few more will follow. So I'm pretty excited about that.
I mean, as far as Messi spurning, what was it? You said was the official offer $1 billion?
I was just reading. I think whatever. I don't know if it was euros or whatever the equivalent is to what they have. Over
sort of money
over 2 years. Yeah. $1 billion over 2 years.
I mean, Ronaldo, also the contract that he got was insane. Obviously, he accepted it. I mean, just kind of making an analogy that my mind can wrap around. It's, Tiger Woods offered $800 million to play for Live Golf. But in the end, you're Tiger Woods. I mean, what's $800 million going to do? You already have that and a whole lot more if you're Tiger Woods. So what's really the money doing to play in a lesser known league? That's what Messi did. I would think, gave up a whole lot more money just because, he's Lionel Messi. He doesn't need all that money if it was a lesser known player who has a once in a lifetime opportunity to make that money, then yeah, sure. But just because of the player that he is, the superstar status, all the money that he's made, that in the end that doesn't really matter. Just like how Tiger Woods doesn't need 800, he doesn't need $800 million. Phil Mickelson needs $800 million. He'd lose that in a week. But Tiger Woods not the case. So I don't watch MLS, so I couldn't. I know that's kind of like the ugly stepsister to the Premier League. That's kind of my whole 2 cents on it. But growing it, I'm not sure what the ramifications were of him joining the MLS. I would think that Beckham had something to do with it. But that's an interesting move, even for me to kind of wrap my head around.
Yeah, like I said, from a marketing standpoint, from a purely face of the game type of thing, I think it's pretty phenomenal.
I think, Bobby, you take the gentleman or the team that put this together and you give them a raise. This is big money for the MLS. And just real quick, and not to get back to golf, but and Stephen J kind of made a joke about my buddy Phil Mickelson, the left-hander. But I would say that lefty Phil Mickelson, you could give him a break, because if you watch the commercials, he's suffering from psoriatic arthritis, and he's taking prescription drugs. So this is a golfer that's in pain, obviously. It's been shown in the commercials. I believe so. So this is a golfer that had to take the money to pay for the medication, Bobby.
That's what it was, right?
Yeah.
That's what it was. I think if I talk any more soccer, my head's gonna explode.
We're done. We're done. By the way, halftime from Miami. Another segue. 53-48 Nuggets.
Mm-hmm. Well, what do you say? We'll circle back around the golf at the end.
Yeah.
Bobby brought it up. We'll talk about NBA Finals a little bit.
Yeah, why not? Let's go.
Take us out, Stephen J. Come on.
Good. NBA Finals. I mean, Doc Holliday, I don't know if you knew this, but I was in Atlantic City on Sunday and Monday, and I was right next to the DraftKings Sportsbook. I know you're a Caesars guy, but I couldn't find a Caesars Sportsbook. But right where I was staying in Atlantic City, there was this big, beautiful DraftKings Sportsbook, and all these different rows of couches and all these TVs there. I was very tempted to place money on the Heat 8.5 on Sunday night.
Oh.
And I didn't, which would have been quite a good bet for being the first sports bet in Atlantic City. And the Heat did something that that no team has done yet in this playoffs, and that was beat the Denver Nuggets at home. And if you want to win a series, that first home series, those first 2 games when you're on the road, you got to win one of them, obviously. Mm-hmm. So, and that's what Miami did, and that swings all the momentum, winning that game 2, going to game 3 in Miami. Close game right now at the half, but I mean, after kind of a poor game by Miami, game 1, they really turned it around. And right now we're getting into the discussion of a really big Cinderella team. It's almost like March Madness with this Miami Heat team. They're like Florida Gulf Coast, or they're like one of the high seeds that we saw in March this year, where they just don't die. And it's all because of coaching, right? Because all these different players, they're getting the best out of them. And that's purely because of Eric Spoelstra. And we saw that in game 2. He wanted Nikola Jokic to be more of a shooter, because I think that a distributor in Nikola Jokic is way more deadly than him being a scorer. And just the facilitator, the way that Jokic the offense, it just runs beautifully around this, as the Mets just got the notification 5-5 Mets, as the Mets lost the lead there, which is very entertaining if you are a Met hater, as maybe some people that we know, losing to the Braves. Always a beautiful sight to see. The Mets fans, their faces turn purple when they lose to the Braves, especially nowadays, now that they're kind of on the same payroll level and skill level. Anyway, with the NBA team, what Eric Spoelstra has cooked up in game 1 and kind of turning around into game 2, it's been phenomenal. And this is probably the best coach in the NBA right now, talking especially over Popovich. But Spoelstra is getting the most out of his team every night. And, game 2 is a big testament to Is this going to be just a snooze fest of an NBA Finals, and it's, like the Cleveland Cavaliers against the Warriors, and it's done in 4 or 5? Or if the Heat are going to show some backbone, and they have, and going into halftime, game 3, we'll check the box score right now. The Heat down 48-53, Denver. I believe their leading scorer is Jamal Murray with 20 at the half, and triple-double check for Jokic, almost there. He's got 7 assists, but, I mean, it's insane with Nikola Jokic. It's almost at the half now he's getting triple-doubles. A little sidebar here. Bobby Blackjack, I don't know if you can agree with me on this. Russell Westbrook completely ruined the triple-double for me. He made that the most it'd be impressive
Watered down.
if he made it so watered down. He diluted the stat because Russell Westbrook's putting up triple-doubles and 20-point losses. I mean, this is impressive what Jokic is doing because he's helping his team win. Russell Westbrook's probably one of the top 3 players in the NBA who hurts your team. He's on your roster and they get progressively worse. The Miami Heat had, D'Angelo Russell as their point guard instead of Russell Westbrook, and he's getting paid 5 times more than Russell. But just going on the triple-double stat, Jokic almost has one at the half, which is insane for the Miami Heat. You got Butler and Adebayo doing their thing, and Adebayo was huge in game 2. And going up against Jokic is a very difficult task just from a defensive standpoint because, the game of basketball is very big on confidence, and you have to play like you're, the best player in the room, basically, out of the 10 players on the court. And when Nikola Jokic is carving you up like Tom Brady going down the field, that gets in your head, and it's tiresome because Jokic is going all around the court for a big man, very physical. Just the way that he can carve up a defense, especially the Miami zone that he did in game 1. Adebayo definitely showed a little bit of resilience in game 2, and that's really what the big part was for the Miami Heat in game 2. What says you, Bobby, as the good basketball? You're a net fan. What do you say?
Yeah, net fan.
I'm loving this series because you know what? You kind of like after game 1, you're like, oh no, this might be Nuggets in 4, Nuggets in 5. They're so much better. The number 1 seed in all of NBA playing against an 8 seed. And you know what? Miami has fought back, and Miami is going to make this a series. I would not be surprised if this goes 6 or 7 games, because Miami is not going to go away. They have everything you need to be. They have the toughness. They have the shooters. They have the underdogs, which everybody loves. Guys we never heard of before hitting big shots. And Denver has, probably the greatest player most of the sports world haven't seen until now, and Jokic. And you have guys like Murray, who was hurt for a couple of years and now is finally healthy and doing the things he was supposed to do when they first signed him. So I think it's an exciting series, and you can't get any better than that right now. And again, now what's going to happen with the Panthers on the hockey rink, because they look totally overwhelmed. They look like they ran into a brick wall.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what happens there. But right now you gotta love the idea of this. You gotta like the idea of Denver wants to prove something. First time ever in NBA Finals. I got the team, and Eric Spoelstra has been there a lot in the past couple of years, and as expected, you have 2 teams fighting it out. Can't get any better than that right now.
Mm-hmm. As much as I praised, the Miami Heat, also Denver did lose the game in game 2. Caldwell Pope played horrible defense. Michael Porter Jr. did not have a good game at all in game 2. But like you said, I mean, these are 2. I said at the beginning when we got the finals, I mean, it's refreshing to have 2 teams that have rewarded loyalty in Jokic and Butler, and really stability. Whether it's the players and bringing in, there's not a lot of consistent turnover, like, Phoenix Suns, like, Brooklyn Nets. There's a lot of consistency with their blue chip superstar players who have been there a while. They've been there, done that before. And also with the head coaches, right? We've seen some coaches in the playoffs that really don't know what they're doing, and it's kind of on the players to bail out the head coach, a la, the Celtics. But, I mean, you have Mike Malone versus Eric Spoelstra, which is basically like Belichick versus Reed in the NFL these days. which it might not be the two sexiest teams for the NBA Finals, right? As much as everyone would love to see, a LeBron, or like to see a Steph Curry or Giannis Antetokounmpo even. This is very quality basketball that we're watching, and I've enjoyed watching it for what I can watch. And I believe I would agree with Bobby that this is probably going, 6 or 7 games, which would be great because, I mean, we're getting quality basketball games every night. Two very good NBA franchises, and it's always a treat watching Nikola Jokic. I mean, between baseball and Shohei Ohtani and basketball and Nikola Jokic, I mean, we're watching, players that are doing something completely different. It's not like just one player shooting as many threes as one guy, but he's making the other. It's that they're just doing things that 99.99% of the players in their league cannot do, even if they tried, at 200%. Nikola Jokic is taking the night off. It's Bobby said the best player in basketball the last 3 years, but he is, like an Ohtani in the MLB, just at the top of the top. He's like at one level down, nobody, and then the third tier is when the next player is. That's the big two, as well as, Jamal Murray, who's been putting up great numbers as well, like you said.
Yeah, and as a Brooklyn Nets fan, we got Bruce Brown there. We got Jeff Green, two guys who I enjoyed watching for the Nets, and hopefully they get their chips here.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, let's real quick I got to put my 2 cents in here. Another big sporting topic today. Headline was Dame Lillard from the Portland Trailblazers, one of your top 5 players in the league when healthy, says, "Oh, I want to go either to Miami to play with Bam, or I want to go to Brooklyn to play with Mikal Bridges." Let me be the first to put on the record. I do not want to see that happen.
You would not want Damian Lillard.
I do not want.
You can sleep well at night knowing that your team is covered by Spencer Dinwiddie instead.
I do not want Dame Lillard for what they have to give up. We're building the right way now.
You guys got 8 picks from the Suns. What are you talking about?
I'm saying we're building the right way. Keep the flow going. Get another star that's not going to cost you the picks that's going to cost, and players that's going to cost you to get Dame Lillard. Again, who's also older and hurt a lot. Maybe the Knicks could take him. I don't want him.
But Bobby, you have to say anybody that takes Dame Lillard would have the edge. Edge Remodeling, the sponsor of this show, All Point Sports. You need the edge. Eddie Edge, Franklin Square, Long Island. Edge Remodeling, fully insured, fully licensed, home repairs. They'll put an addition on your house. They'll make it look good, guaranteed. Eddie Edge.
I think Eddie Edge should come out one weekend and rehabilitate the bocce courts outside, and we can put his name everywhere. Done by Eddie Edge Remodeling.
I like that, Bobby.
Right? He'll get a lot of business from that, because what's the first thing people say when they walk out to the bocce courts? Oh my God, this place hasn't changed in 25 years. That's the same wood from
he would be a miracle worker if he fixed that. I mean, we would talk about him for a whole episode long if he pulled off that. Man, maybe he could. And bocce,
we'll have to talk to Eddie Edge
to get the Italian, get the Italian market, maybe, for all your bocce needs as well.
Well, his name does end in a vowel. Edge.
Edgy.
Yeah.
Edgy.
Yeah. Doc Holliday, the expert broadcaster. We call that a perfect flow, a transition, if you will, into the ad. Beautifully done, Doc. 10 out of 10 for that.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm waiting for our buddy John to come on to talk some baseball. Because he's a big baseball guy, and his team's in first place. My team's right behind him. By the way, guys, speaking of baseball, I hate to bring this up yet, waiting for John, but did you see the split last week of Aaron Judge's numbers this year compared to last year? That before he got hurt a couple days ago, he was actually in some categories ahead of what he did last year.
And what's crazy is that correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think he made an IL trip last year. I think he was fairly healthy the whole year, and he spent 10 days on the shelf this year, and he's still on the shelf because Dodger Stadium, I mean, just a 1 in a million shot over to right field, and just I know everyone's blaming Dodger Stadium, and that might be the case, but just a complete berserk play that put him on the IL again. But just the fact that he's missed, probably at this point, 13, 14 games due to injury, and he's still got the identical numbers on there. Usually that first year after a big contract, I guess, the one player that I can think of is probably Francisco Lindor after that first year, kind of a mediocre year, which you could say that about every year, really, at this point. But usually that first contract, that first year after a big extension, whether it's kind of just a sigh of relief, like, okay, I got the deal, I can settle in. Maybe it was, just all this energy and electricity that's flowing through you in a contract year before. Usually that first year when you sign a big deal is not going to be a very impressive stat line. It's usually year 2 or 3 where it's all right, now you're living up to the money. But Judge, I mean, in typical Judge fashion, I mean, he's just been so consistent. It's just, been one whole long season. There's been really no slumps with Judge. It's been, once every 3 or 4 games. And, Doc Holliday, I think you might have a personal Aaron Judge experience when he made the trip out to Seattle, correct?
That's right. Let's just tell you, break way to the Caesars app right now. And Bobby Blackjack can tell you, this could be the Resorts World Catskills segment. But
Hopefully.
This was a parlay, a $15 free bet. Caesar says, Caesar, we've missed you. They even called me Caesar, even though I'm Mark Antony here at the resort. And they said, we have a $15 free bet for you. And I didn't want to make something that's just pick the Mets for $15. I wanted to pick something spicy. So I picked a 4-leg parlay. I went in, and when I picked it, I had to make the bet within that night. So it was the 5th inning, and you could go right back to the time of the bet. It's on the actual bet. But it was the Braves versus the worst team in baseball, the Oakland Athletics. And the Oakland Athletics were losing in the 5th inning 1-0, and they were getting plus 1.5. So I took plus 1.5. I don't remember the odds. And then I went to the Yankees playing at 9:40 at night, a couple hours later, and I saw they were getting a 1.5 in Seattle, even though they had a better record than Seattle. And I says, let me take Yankees plus 1.5. Then I said, player to hit a home run, Aaron Judge. Then I said, player to hit a home run, Julio Rodriguez. So that $15 bet would return $756 and change. Needless to say, Aaron Judge saved a home run that night, hit 2 home runs and a double, I think, and a single. Julio Rodriguez had a 3-run shot. The Braves lost to the worst team in baseball by about 4 or 6 runs, and the Yankees won by 6. So
you made out like a band.
Very happy.
I should take you to Atlantic City, Doc. Oh my goodness.
And the next night was a pitcher's duel. If you had picked even one player to hit a home run, no one would have had a home run.
Yep.
It was the extra inning game.
I already told Doc I'm gonna follow him around all summer. I'm gonna give him $50 a week, and here, kindly, quadruple this for me or more, and then I'll give you a little commission on the back end, and he just.
I mean, hopefully the IRS isn't listening to this right now.
Yeah.
Talking about Victor Hovland winning the Memorial, $750 payout from the baseball bets. Charms.
I say we should have a little competition online, and everybody puts in their bets. You're given an amount of virtual dollars, and you put in your bets. It's a weekly competition, and after 10 weeks of the summer, the one with the most money wins the prize. How about it, Bobby? We could put it together.
I'm down for that.
All point sports. So any sport. Australian dog racing.
Even better. And as we talk about Doc Holliday's, making money, there are people that are losing money or maybe not be living up to the money as well. And that's definitely the New York Mets right now. 2 runs given up in the bottom of the 8th. The Atlanta Braves now lead 7-5 as they just have been having, not only the Braves have had the Mets number, and, last night they fell below 500, which is pretty damning, which I didn't even know about until tonight that they fell under 500. But also the fact that Scherzer went 5 2/3 inning, gave up 11 hits, 5 earned runs. The last 3 starts, I believe, he's given up 4 more earned runs against the Braves. And that's your ace. That's the guy who you want pitching against a team like that. And they have owned Max Scherzer these last couple starts. And, Mets fans, amazing how if you were, in October this time last year and you're talking about maybe firing Buck Showalter, that you would have said never going to happen. Buck will be here until he wants to ride off into the sunset. Right now, things have gone completely sideways for the New York Mets, and the bottom of the 8th going into the 9th inning, the top of the 9th, last licks for the Mets. You could say that maybe it's Max Scherzer who's been kind of the headliner as far as one of the bigger disappointments this year. Pete Alonso is basically a home run or a strikeout hitter. And even Francisco Lindor, who talk about, a big extension like we were talking about with Aaron Judge. Francisco Lindor right now batting .216 on the year, which you can't do for your future shortstop, considering that, way too early to talk about this, but just because, what's going on with AAA, Ron Mauricio is smashing the ball. And, there were talks about, all right, we got all of our young studs up. We got to trade Mauricio, get someone who can win now. Now you're thinking about maybe we do have to bring him up. And obviously you're not benching Lindor, but maybe, see what you have there in terms of just mixing and matching and getting more electricity from this Mets team. This whole youth movement, when it first happened, it was great, right? They were hitting walk-off home runs. Beatty and Alvarez were mashing, and now all of a sudden they're just, we're out of kind of the beginning parts of baseball where if you're struggling now you're starting to wonder, right?
Wait, time out. Hold on 1 second there. Hold on 1 second, Steve. What is Lindor batting? What's his batting average? 216, and half of the Yankee land wants Volpe out of there for hitting similar numbers, right? Does that make sense to you?
I haven't heard
Volpe alone. Leave Volpe alone.
I can say that I haven't heard any. I don't think I've heard any Yankee fans wanting to bench Volpe. I think when things are going good and everyone's hitting, you can let the young guys struggle a little bit. Would it be nice to have Volpe doing a little bit better, considering that we were calling him Derek Jeter 2.0? I think so. But I think, obviously the money for Lindor is way more damning. But Volpe, he hasn't stolen a lot of bases recently. I think he's stolen like 1 base in the last, 20 games or whatever. So his fielding and, his speed is what really kind of makes up for him not hitting that well. But he's not even doing that now. So
he might hit 20 home runs as a rookie.
Yeah, which is impressive. It's we definitely would need.
He's got a grand slam. He's got
just like Adam said, we gotta let the kid play through it. For Lindor, it's obviously a big deal like that, and you're 3 years into your Mets tenure, and I'm interested to see the numbers and just Lindor's averages with the Mets in his career. I want to know because obviously with the Indians, he was the best shortstop in baseball, and now with the Mets, I'm curious to see if he's a 250 hitter lifetime with the Mets.
So Doc, while he's doing that, give Adam a shout out, Doc. Where can we find Adam?
Adam E.
Yep.
Call Adam 914 Homes, Caldwell Banker for all your real estate needs in Westchester County, New York, and the surrounding areas. Call Adam 914 Homes 914-424-7295. Call Adam.
There you go. By the way, Steve, we have Adam on speed dial. Like once the trade deadline comes in a couple of months, in about a month or so, and he hears any rumors of any housing developments in the Yankee land up there in Westchester, he's gonna let us know. You know, if we hear Josh Donaldson's house is up for sale, he's out of here, baby.
Yeah.
Get him out of here.
But I can
Hey,
tell you
he's
this
hit,
with
what, 3 home
Lindor.
runs since he's been back, Donaldson?
Yeah, I know. You can't complain right now. He's doing okay.
Can't complain right now. We can in a little bit when he is staring at curveballs right down the middle. But right now, I mean, it seems like with Judge and Stan right now, I'm curious to see. We're you know me, I'm a big sucker for stats, and I can't find any Lindor stats. How many games do you think have Judge and Stanton played combined this year? It is. I mean,
and the problem is Stanton hasn't been that bad when he played. He's been mashing the ball a little bit. He just can't be on the can't get on the field.
Which is one of the most frustrating things, and especially in baseball, right? I mean, you can't just hop into a lineup and just your first game back, go 3 for 4, a double, a home run. Like, you need to see a lot of pitches. You need to get into a rhythm in baseball. It's very ebb and flow, right? You need to see a whole lot of pitches. You need to get comfortable in the batter's box. And Giancarlo, obviously, he's a veteran. He can work through that, but he still needs time in the box. But that's what's so frustrating, where he's a very good player, but he just doesn't play as a Yankee. And if he plays bad and he's injured, then maybe you could talk about getting rid of him. But it's one of those things where when he plays, he's great and you love him and you want to keep him, but then he's just always getting hurt. Even this Judge thing, Judge is hurt for a second time. The Yankees, they're doing fine. I mean, they're 1 game out of the wild card right now, which is what Yankee fans want to say. We want to talk about winning the division, which the Braves right now are a 500 team. We'll be fine. This division's definitely not over. But all these Yankee injuries right now, we should be blessed how we're playing right now, considering all the different, the revolving door of guys going in and off the IL.
What? I mean, 1/3 of your starting lineup are like, who the hell is that guy? Bowers and guys that never even heard of
will be playing. Yeah, I mean,
it's crazy.
As far as pitching, I mean, Trevino getting hurt was definitely hurt them, because I believe Yankee pitchers' ERAs, their starting pitchers, are like 2 points higher when Higgy starts over Trevino. So the whole starting rotation hurt when Trevino was on the shelf. Thank goodness that Rizzo hasn't been hurt, or Torres, but we've seen Donaldson, Bader, Judge, Rodon still hasn't played. We've had a lot of bullpen guys, Hamilton. We talked about Stanton. Sevy just came back. Thankfully, Cole. We got Nestor right now, who's we don't know what the deal is with Nestor Cortez right now. Talk about falling back from earth. His run from his fall from grace quite mightily this season. I believe he's still got like a 5 ERA. So we should be very, very happy right now, considering where we're at as the Yankees, even taking the series against the Dodgers with all the injuries that we've had, and next man up, right? So
think about it. Think about it. We played very well against the Dodgers, except for 1 inning. That first inning was set with Severino when he gave up 8 hits or 8 runs.
Mm-hmm. Which is really his only bad inning all year. I mean, talk about, it's, again, good players, but just they don't play. Rodon and Severino. If you get those 3 guys in a postseason series, the Yankees are dangerous, but just you got 2 out of 3 question marks in those first 3 innings. But I don't even want to talk about playoffs right now. Yankees, just you got to wave the storm, right? You got to, the first half of the year, that's fine. Work through all your injuries, get it all out of the way now. But it's just frustrating. I mean, having Donaldson up and down, Stanton, Judge, Bader again. Bader, who was terrific center fielder. Now our outfield consists of Oswaldo Cabrera, Bowers, and McKinney, who signed a major league deal. Are we going to see Frankie Cordero there in center field? We're IKF. We have infielders that are playing.
IKF is playing good ball the past 3 weeks.
Yeah.
He's actually carrying us a little bit, IKF.
2 Saturdays ago, the Yankees versus Padres. Yeah, Stephen J was in attendance when IKF hit the walk-off hit against the Padres in 10.
You know what? You know why he does that? Because no one really knows him. These are the ball players that step up. Let's go back many years ago. You got a Chuck Knobloch betting 342 with Minnesota Twins. The Yankees get him in a deal, and he can't throw the ball from second base to first base.
Reminds me of Sonny Gray, right, Bobby?
Yep. Wasn't that Steve? Wasn't that Steve Sachs in the '80s too?
Steve Sachs.
The one year we
Kenny
got him,
Rogers.
all of a sudden he couldn't throw the ball anywhere.
Yeah, and Kenny Rogers. And then Kenny Rogers comes back with Texas and beats us in the playoffs. Unbelievable. They can't deal with the pressure in New York, and they go somewhere else, and they become stars. Mets are famous for sending away ball players. The Yankees too.
Yeah, it's definitely.
I read the funniest thing today. Chris Mad Dog Russo states pretty emphatically that Steve Cohen is really a Yankee fan, and all this stuff about him having like Ed Kranepool pictures in his bedroom or hogwash, and the guy is really a Yankee fan at heart. Can you imagine that?
With the roster that he's constructed, it seems like he's a Yankee fan. With how poor the Mets are going, oh my goodness! We're testing his patience right now, Stevie Cohen, with all the money that he has. I mean, the highest payroll in baseball by nearly $100 million, and this team is 2 games below 500. At
Chris
third of the way
Monty right now, Stephen J. Chris Monty right now, he's just beside himself. Steph Flom, all these Mets fans that had high hope
on them.
Whoa! Oh. Right now, Stephanie's in Toronto. She doesn't care. She's going to a Blue Jays game probably tonight again.
Which is worse. Oh, those Blue Jays! Every year it seems like it's their year to break out.
Oh, boy. Right now, I was waiting for John for this, but I don't know if John's going to make it to the show or not this week. Right now, my Miami Marlins are 35-28. They are 2.5 games behind the Braves, 4 games above the Mets right now. And the best thing about it, Luis Arias, last year's AL batting champion, is batting .403 right now.
But 4 games above the Mets, that's quite an accomplishment.
Above the Mets. And if the Mets payroll is $350 million, the Marlins is probably $35 million.
35 million.
Ain't that something? I mean, that's baseball these days. It's amazing. But yeah, the your Marlins there. I mean, it's too early to talk about Arias, breaking Ted Williams or matching Ted Williams, right? 400, way too early for that. But even so, I mean, 400 at this point is impressive considering, what he did last year, and he was able to back it up again.
Yep. And then there's the Pittsburgh Pirates who had a great start, kind of fell off the wagon, started coming back, and they've lost 2 games so far to the Oakland A's. You can't lose at home to the Oakland A's, Pittsburgh. Come on. Baseball is fun when Pittsburgh is in it.
Yeah, I mean,
you can't lose to the worst team in the league who oh, by the way, I'm going to Vegas next week, so I'm pretty excited to see like potentially where the new A's stadium is going to be, and I might actually see a parade. If the Golden Knights hold on there and keep dominating Florida. Yeah,
I mean, yeah, you definitely could see a victory parade if things are going the way it is now. It's getting real ugly real quick, if you're a Florida fan.
Hey, Doc, we lost your picture, by the way.
All right.
Doc's power went out, I think. I mean, what are Golden Knight tickets going for? If there was a game that popped up, Bobby, would you swing it going?
Unfortunately, I fly out early Thursday morning. If there is a game 6, it'll be in Florida, so maybe I can watch it amongst the fans out there. It'll be pretty fun to watch.
That'd be wild in Vegas. I'm sure they'll have a watch party in the stadium, and if it's for a game set match for them to win the cup, if they're away and you have that in the crowd, that'd be
or otherwise, if they sweep them and win in 4, I should be there for a parade.
Yeah. Hey, that's
and if there is a game,
get credentials for Blackjack TV.
Yeah, a little too late now, but next year though, I believe we're already talking about potentially. And I'll meet my my business partner Brad when I'm out there. But I believe the Super Bowl is in Vegas soon, maybe even next year. I think.
I believe next year.
So if you know anything about Vegas, Vegas is awesome enough just to be there in the city during big events.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to go to the event if you don't have tickets or credentials. You can still have enough fun and enough stuff to do just being there. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Hey, and Adam Silver has addressed expansion in the NBA recently, and right next to Seattle, Vegas is definitely a spot that the NBA would love to have. And it's the A's are going there. We got the Golden Knights who have been there for a while. Adding an NBA team to Vegas would certainly be see an expansion draft, especially for the NBA. But just having a franchise there, definitely impressive. And talking about basketball right now, at the end of the third, Nuggets up 82-68, but Denver can't get too comfortable because this point differential between the Miami Heat in the last 2 games against the Nuggets and also just in the playoffs. I mean, it's like Tom Brady and the Patriots in the fourth quarter. I mean, the Heat are the closers. They never die, whether it's just the adjustments that Spoelstra makes in the fourth quarter. There may be, just lack of effort on the Nuggets' part, but Heat down 14 going into the fourth quarter, but definitely not
Means
done.
nothing. It means nothing.
I say it's over. I say it comes down to shooting percentage. If the Heat shoot over 60% in the fourth quarter, they have a shot at winning the game. That's how they won game 2. It wasn't just the Denver's lack of offense. It was the Heat's shooting percentage. Those guards can shoot the lights out of the ball. So it's like we have some people here from, Caitlin Clark fans coming out of, where is it, Stephen? Iowa State?
Iowa.
Iowa.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Caitlin Clark shooting the lights out of the ball. So the Heat have these guards that they don't miss. That's how they just rolled over the Knicks. If one wasn't on, the other guy was on. And you just got to be on. You have an off night in the NBA. You could be down 14 going into the fourth quarter.
Yep. And both these teams are constructed very similarly, whether it's, you have Butler and Adebayo, which are the 2 biggest stars for the Heat, and then you have Jokic and Murray for the Nuggets. But really what's going to determine the series, everyone's going to say it's those 4 guys, and obviously it starts with those 4 guys, but is it going to be, your Struces, Caleb Martins, and your Vincents, your Struce, Martins, or Vincents who are going to make more threes and definitely shoot better for the Heat? Or is it going to be your Bruce Browns, your Michael Porters, and your Kentavious Caldwell Popes for the Nuggets? Because both of them have very good rotational pieces around them, but they've been a little inconsistent. So it depends on who's going to make kind of the biggest run. And, those are all sharpshooters. And in the NBA now, it's who's going to make more threes. And, if it's Martin and Struce and Vincent for the Heat, they'll win the series because, Butler and Adebayo are going to get the job done. And the same thing goes for the Denver Nuggets.
I want to ask you this, Stephen J. So of the 2 teams right now, Miami and Denver, who's going to become a free agent after this year that has to go out on the court right now and prove themselves to be the man?
Oh, man. Would it just be between the Nuggets and the Heat? Who's got to go out there? They're playing for a contract. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Bobby, you probably need to help me on this. I know that Murray and Jokic are locked up. I think it's the same for Butler and Adebayo. I think there are probably some lesser guys like maybe a Vincent or a Martin for the Heat that might be playing for a contract, right?
Probably. Because they're kind of guys that came out of nowhere.
Yeah. And they need to step it up because I think Struce is shooting 1 for 7, Vincent 1 for 6, Martin 3 for 7 with 8 points. So kind of what we're talking about between these different role players, who's gonna show up more. And for Miami Heat, those guys around them, they're definitely not helping because it can't just be Butler and Adebayo, just like how it can be Jokic and Murray. But that's playing with fire if you're Denver.
Yeah, I think Bruce Brown's a 1-year contract, or maybe 1 plus player, whatever they call that.
So no Joe Flacco runs, basically. No one
Nah.
like Flacco on the Ravens that's playing for a big deal.
Yeah, you would think maybe a Max Struess, maybe, because he's obviously playing for Tyler Hero, who hasn't played yet, and obviously he's not coming back today. So maybe someone who's filling in for one of those stars. You would think is playing for something.
Yep. The Heat have bird rights for Vincent and Struess, and then also Love and Victor Oladipo are free agents, and then Udonis Haslem, who's also a free agent, which is very critical for the Heat. And
he's 20. He's 43 years old, so he's just there for the paycheck right now.
First, you got to lock up the 43-year-old first of all for the NBA. So who knows? Maybe this time next week that the series could be over. Because Denver, they can turn the switch on, or are the Miami Heat going to be kind of the pesky neighbors and keep this series going, right?
Yeah, I think this is I can't say it's huge because it's a 1-1 series, like you said, and the advantage shifted to Miami by winning that game too. But Denver has to win this game just feel a little more comfortable if they lose the next game. Then it goes to 1-1-1 after that. So
and definitely with everything that happened with the Heat and how really their zone looked like to stifle the Heat's zones kind of stifled the Nuggets, and how they were kind of getting Jokic in the low post and they weren't really putting him at the top of the key with the dribble handoffs and kind of letting him be the facilitator. If Denver wins in game 3, that kind of brings the ball back to service for the Miami Heat, where it's all right, well, the adjustment worked for one game, but that's not going to work the whole series. So now it's time to get back in there, fix it again. What else are you going to do? And Spoelstra is capable of that. It worked for game 2, and it's obviously not going to work for a whole series because it's a 7-game series. It's not 4 quarters like in the NFL, but definitely some adjustments that didn't really trip up the Denver Nuggets that long. And even Malone, who called out his team afterwards, they seemed to rise to the occasion, up 14 with 10 minutes left in the fourth.
Well, how about this, Stephen J? And in game 2, with 48 seconds to go, the Nuggets are down by 4 points, have the ball. And if you're watching on the app like I wasn't watching a game on TV, but on the computer, next thing you know, there's 18 seconds, 15 seconds, 1 second. The score hasn't changed. And it never did change after that. So what happened? How can a team not score with 48 seconds to go? Crunch time is crunch time. Let's get it done.
Oh yeah, and that's what you gotta love about playoff basketball. In the regular season, teams are trying to break 140, but come playoff times when they actually put in a little bit more effort, it's of course always a defensive game first, and we all know the saying what comes with championships and defense. Going 40 seconds left in an NBA game, these players are mental warriors and they're locking in. So we're not used to seeing it in the regular season, but come playoffs in this kind of NBA now, where people don't really give it their all in the regular season, they really locked in, and it was all defense really those last 40 seconds.
And I think it's scripted as well, because no matter what happens, whether they're playing for real or not, it's in a script now. It's part of history. But in game 1, the spread was 9 or 9.5, depending on when you took the game, and they won by 11. And you thought, this is going to be easy for Denver. And game 2, you pound on Denver, and the next thing you know, Miami's keeping it close and wins the game. And then you don't know where to go. This is why they call it gambling.
That's why they call it gambling, not crochet, right?
I'll tell you one thing, though. One thing, as I'm watching this series, guys, the way Jokic is playing, I think he's going to reset the NBA a little bit. Remember how everybody was, when Steph Curry was winning those championships and everything was the Splash Brothers and the outside shots and the 3-point bombs all game? This guy is old school. He's taking it back to 10, 15 feet within the the basket, and the guy's unstoppable. I mean, I
What's
think
amazing,
he's gonna bring the big man back a little bit.
yeah, I mean, him and Embiid, the center position, I've said in the NBA has been one of the least important positions in sports. What I thought, but it's really those two guys, and then they're like 8 levels above every other center in the NBA. But definitely bringing the center name back, and it's amazing how we live in an NBA where obviously you guys, you see the freaks that are just coming in now. You see Wembanyama, you see Jokic, you see guys, just the physicality of the NBA right now is crazy. And then you see someone like Nikola Jokic, who's just kind of just doing his thing, but he's carving everyone up. I mean, Giannis,
old school second round draft pick. I mean, and I was reading a story about him last week. He has his famous 2 older brothers who are like his bodyguards, and they're like bigger than him. But the older one especially was a pretty good basketball player, and he's about 10 years older than Nikola. So he's the guy he kind of looked up to growing up, and now both those guys are like his biggest protectors. Like you don't want to mess with Nikola because his 2 brothers are right there somewhere within the first 3 rows, ready to pounce on somebody if they ever attack their brother on the court.
You don't want to mess with Nikola Jokic if you're the Miami Heat as well. As the NBA Finals, Game 3 wrapping up in only 7 short minutes. So who knows? Maybe by this time,
everything
will be
everything. I'm saying he hits everything inside. This guy's amazing.
Yeah, the big men that I remember going inside, especially for the Houston Rockets, you got a David Robinson, you got a Hakeem Olajuwon. The guard would just pass it inside to these guys, and they just take it in. A Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, these guys would just take it in. A Bill Russell, just pass it inside. Even a Shaq, if he didn't dunk it and they fouled him, he'd miss the foul shot most of the time. But they would just pass it inside to Barkley. Barkley would just drive down the court. Unbelievable. The game of basketball has changed, but the big man's coming back. This guy, Jokic, he's a combined LeBron James and an Olajuwon. He's got it all combined. He can do it from outside and inside. And that's what I like about this.
What they were saying, Doc, that was he's a combined Larry Bird and Kevin McHale.
There you go. And what the chief? What they call him? The chief? Who was that? Parrish.
Yeah.
That guy, you couldn't get by him. He was like 6 foot wide.
They're up 21 now. This game's over.
This game's over. It was over in the 3rd quarter. Miami can't shoot the ball. They're under pressure right now. If they come back now, you deserve it. Get on there now. Take the 20. Take them with 24 points.
Hop on that Caesars app, Doc.
Yeah. Take them with 15 points. See what happens.
Yeah, so good response by the Denver Nuggets in Game 3 against Miami. I believe Game 4 will be today, Wednesday. I believe Saturday night we'll get Game 4. And who knows, this could get out of hand pretty quickly. Maybe we'll be watching another champ. Maybe by come Wednesday next week, we'll have a winner. And, of course, we'll learn more about Live Golf. And the Mets will keep imploding and the Yankees will keep getting injured. And, of course, we got some hockey as well. Bobby Blackjack going to Vegas because they called in the ringer because they need a closer. And if you want to close, you call Bobby Blackjack. And if you need great remodeling, where do you go, Doc?
Edge Remodeling. Eddie Edge, Franklin Square, Long Island. Fully insured, fully licensed. Home improvements. They'll build a new home for you. A sun deck, a porch, a bocce court. Eddie Edge. I think he built a bocce court right at his own home as a model. And Stephen J., I got a question. They're going to go to Miami. Denver's going to go to Miami up 2-1. Game 4. Will you see a Mike White? at the
They're bringing him
Miami
in
race.
courtside. They're bringing Mike White in courtside to get a little bit of good luck on their side. You have all those celebrities. You got like Pitbull, you got DJ Khaled, and then you got Mike White sitting right next to him. Miami.
And then you got the G
Blackjack.
League, the Miami Heat G League in Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
I still
Right,
baffles.
Bobby?
I still baffles. That's more baffling than I keep saying on the show every week. That's more baffling than the Italian national team's last names.
Yeah, Harvey.
How does that make sense to have Sioux City as your G League team? Yeah. All right, we need somebody. All right, I'll be there on Thursday. It takes 2 days to get there.
You know what it was? Saudi basketball offered them $1 billion to come to Saudi, and they said, no, we'd rather go to Sioux Falls.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
I tell you, I'm looking forward to going to Vegas next week and sitting down and playing like $2 blackjack, $5 blackjack, which you don't see anywhere in Atlantic City. You don't see it in Resorts World either because old tables are so damn high. But
Do you have a little blackjack card on you? A little cheat card?
No, I know it's all in my head.
All in your head? Good.
Yeah.
Because I used that over the weekend and it worked like a charm. There are a lot of things that I thought is what you should do in blackjack, and that turns out I was wrong. And a lot of stuff, it made me some money. One of those little cards.
That's the idea. I actually happened to be at Resorts World a few weeks ago. I was down pretty big playing 3-card poker. I had my last couple $100. Like, oh, let me play blackjack. So it was like $15 minimum a hand. And I'm looking, and there was a couple of females, couple of males, but I noticed quickly everybody knew what they were doing, right? Playing by the book. When everybody plays by the book, the odds go slightly better in your favor because the casinos are hoping that you're that schmuck with the dealer showing a 6 and you're going to hit on something that, you shouldn't hit, or you're going to take cards that you shouldn't take because, but whenever everybody plays the right way, things can really shift in your favor.
Especially third base, especially the last person.
Oh, yeah.
That's the person that can make or break the dealer. So if that person makes a bad decision, you're going to have all the other players ahead of you pretty upset.
That's why people fight on blackjack tables, because you know what? That's the one game where it's you versus the dealer, right? You're not. Most games are that way, but that's the one game where, all right, if I'm playing 3-card poker, right, I'm not. What I do, right or wrong, is already decided by the deal of the cards, right? Blackjack, though, it's a community game, so I could play by the rules and not hit when a 6 is showing when I got a 5, right? But somebody on the side of the table has got a 5 showing, and with a 6, I'll hit one, and then ruins the whole friggin' table. And
that's right. The person before you can bust with that card. If they hadn't taken the hit, could have given you a 21, or
the dealer would have bust, or the dealer busts, and everybody wins. Sure. That's how you see fights. I mean, heck, I last time I was in Vegas, I remember playing with a bunch of cousins and friends. It was just us playing, and I'd get blackjack. And I'd say, nah, I want to double down. That's 11. You make more money doubling down than you do a blackjack.
True. And that's all I learned this weekend. And that's why I started with video first, because I did not want to be,
those video games got me nuts.
And ruin it for everyone else. Because that's one of the first things, when you're studying it, you're looking on YouTube, you're reading about it. You don't want to be the one guy that ruins it for everyone else. I started with video, kind of built up, some knowledge, got some, swings in me. And then, you go to the table and you make friends and try to be nice. But third base, Doc, I did not know that. That's where you don't want to be. That's what makes or breaks.
That's a tough position. That's a tough seat. If
I like first base.
Thinking twice.
I like first base. You got kind of control, at least what you get. But Steve, next time you're in Atlantic City, next time you're in a casino and need some blackjack advice, just text me, man. I got you.
I got you. I'll keep you on FaceTime.
I
That's
can't
what
say
I got.
I can't say I've never won a lot of money doing it, but I know what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I know
and
what I'm doing.
again, me and my friend, we got that little card where it tells you if you can double, if you can split on everything. There's a lot of stuff that I had been doing wrong, at least on my lap. This is my first time ever, at a casino, so. There are a lot of stuff that I thought is what you're supposed to do. It turns out that that's just completely, ass backwards, and that's not what you're supposed to do. But I was surprised by that, and I had a good time. I could have just, set fire to my wallet instead of going 2 nights and losing it slowly. But we made our money through comps for sure. We tried to make some of that back. They treat you very nice. We were at Resorts AC, and then we also went over to the Hard Rock. But yeah, Blackjack, certainly one of the few games that treated me well. Roulette robbed me blind. I know that slots aren't going to treat me well. The first game that I played won, like $25 on the slots. And then after that, it was just down the drain. Video poker too is what, jacks are better, was something that I tried out, and I enjoyed it because it makes you think. Yeah, it's not as mindless as slots, but it was a good time. I'm not too big a gambler, but my friend, said, "Hey, let's try it out. I got a couple free rooms, and that's it." Had a good time.
I think in July, Resorts World's having a blackjack tournament. I might have to pop in there.
We'll take the show mobile there.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what.
We'll give you seed money, Bobby.
I'm not going. I've lost the past 2 times I've gone there to Resorts World, and I know why. Because in January, 'cause I didn't play all last year because I lost 3 times, and we're there all summer, right? I'm not going. Anyway, long story short, in January I went back for the first time after not going all summer, all fall, and I hit on 3-card poker, 3 of a kind, which was like a $1,500 payout. But my 3 of a kind was 666. So I kind of think I'm screwed this year going to that casino. I think I've signed my soul's been signed over for that place until next calendar year. So I'm looking forward to. And Vegas is like AC is like, even misses out on this as well. Like I said, Vegas has the casinos everywhere, and they have the cheap games, which is cool to keep you going. Excuse me.
And we also, oh yeah, and real quick before we wrap things up, Doc Holliday, I got to ask, do you have a favorite going into the Belmont Stakes this Saturday? Forte, baby.
Now, tell me how Forte is running in the Belmont Stakes.
As Bobby Blackjack jumped, I think he went to go put money on Forte right there.
I don't see how Forte is running when Forte was scratched out of the Kentucky Derby, and the trainer was fined for illegal substance, and now the horse is running in the Belmont. I don't understand. Was it illegal in Kentucky and legal in New York? What's up with Bobby Baffert? And
excuse me,
I don't know. I think I stay away from this race.
By the way, the Heat are all right. The Heat were back down to 14, but it's up to 16 again. So they're making a valiant effort here in the last few minutes of the fourth. All right, guys. So next Wednesday night we'll have our next show, and I'll probably be up all night because I hate flying, and that flight to Vegas is 5 hours, so I'm not going to be enjoying that very much.
And Bobby, tell us real quick, when will you be back at the Villa Roma?
I'll be back at the Villa Roma Friday afternoon to do my gig Friday night, Saturday night. Am I on the Mez again?
On the Mez. And we were saying before the show, I was telling Bobby Blackjack that the owner of Villa Roma, Mr. Paul Carlucci, was asking today, when is your assistant coming back? I said, my assistant? Say, yeah, the young Stephen J. When will Stephen J. return to the Villa Roma?
He's making it sound like I get you coffee or something, Doc. Your assistant. I book all your needs because Doc Holliday. I'm his assistant, That's what it is. I do all of his scheduling. I wash his car. I do the coffee.
No, the assistant social director.
No, but hey, you'll be seeing Stephen J there pretty soon as I right under. All right, there we go. I believe so. Maybe even before the Independence Day, maybe a little before Independence Day, you'll see Stephen J there.
And also JB Buyer will be coming up pretty soon, and that's going to be very, very special. We have some great shows coming up tonight. Stephen Christopher on stage, Magic and Mentalism. Tomorrow night, comedy night, Tommy Gooch. Friday night, singer Patty Greco Sunshine. Saturday night, comedian Johnny Lampert.
Johnny Lampert
We're
returns.
gonna have a fun week here with DJ Bobby Blackjack up on the mezzanine Friday and Saturday night after the show times, and it's
So
summer
Doc,
season.
I have a question, Doc, for Steve. So Steve and Jay, when we're out there hanging out doing the horse racing, is John B rooting for Matt Holliday, the horse?
He'll be rooting for his own horse. I think if JB came to town, he would make some propositions where he would only come if he had a horse in the race. I think that's what would happen. So he'd be rooting for his own. He don't go up there for just nothing. He drives a hard bargain. If anything, he would probably ask for his to replace Matt Holliday's, which I would very much enjoy. I think that we might have to do that.
But we have to mention this, Bobby Blackjack, and you don't know this story, but one of my early calls as an announcer was doing the championship sledding races out in the Poconos down this huge ski and sledding hill. And lo and behold, who's in the sledding race? The two brothers were competing that day and many other competitors. But in the lead going in down to the final sledder was none other than our own Stephen J. Stephen J had the best time of the day. He had beaten 35 other sledders. And I could tell you the last competitor was his brother, JB. And JB beat him like by half a second. And I don't think Stephen J has ever forgotten that. Have you, Stephen J?
No, every time I close my eyes, I see it again. And that definitely caused a family fracture between my younger brother and I. It took a while for us to reconcile. All right.
Well, Stephen J, we have a new toy this year, by the way. I purchased a drone, and I got up in the air a little bit the other day. It's been too windy with this crap the past couple of days, but maybe tomorrow I'll get down to the baseball field early down in Hamilton, New Jersey. I'll have my my little drone. I'll get some practice because we'll be doing some live aerial view turtle races this summer.
Drop off some Amazon packages too with the drone too while you're at it.
Nah, it's a little one. It's a little guy. It's a little guy. It's a little one.
A little guy?
A little guy, yeah.
All right. Hey, well, all these, gadgets, and maybe we'll have to, I don't know, we can get a little investment for the show. Maybe we can get some gadgets too. A drone of our own, maybe like a van. We can go from town to town, take the show mobile, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah.
I think so. But, I mean, hey, we're talking about gambling and three of a kind. You got your three of a kind right here for Doc Holliday, Bobby Blackjack, Stephen J. on a wonderful Wednesday night, a little bit of a smoky Wednesday night. Not sure if it's, when it's going to stop, but as long as everyone's safe out there. But on a very smoky Wednesday night, you got all your sports, NBA Finals, NHL Finals, a live PGA reconciliation, and of course, what was it, Doc? They mentioned before. What other sport were we talking?
Sledding?
It was way earlier. And all your sledding needs here on Bobby Black for Blackjack TV. All Point Sports Live saying so long and have a good night and enjoy your week in sports.
Buonanotte.